Today, I want to talk about an indie animated pilot that I missed talking about when it first came out, but which people have been non-stop requesting me to cover in the comments. If you haven't seen Ramshackle yet, I recommend you go check it out now because there will be spoilers ahead, though I do my best to write these as an introduction to new viewers with the hope that you'll like what you hear so much that you'll go check it out, even if it's already been spoiled for you. Ramshackle is an indie web pilot that started as an indie web comic, with the pilot already racking up close to 7 million views at the time of me writing this. So let's break down the story, its origin in comic form, and of course, the crazy mythology surrounding the reveal that they were all being tested by a giant biblically accurate angel. Ramshackle is the story of 3 street kids named Vinny, Skip, and Stone as they try to navigate life in the town of Ramshackle and pull scams on the rich people there in order to make just enough money to feed themselves. Ramshackle is a place presented in the pilot as one of great wealth disparity, with people all looking rather rich or extremely poor, though the comics paint a bit more of a nuanced picture about these supposedly rich people. The people of Ramshackle are said in the pilot to be greedy, and that definitely comes across on screen, but the depths of the townsfolk's greediness is best displayed in the comic, I think. The typical setup for Ramshackle is that each story, whether the pilot or comic or thesis film, is about the kids trying to scam the more wealthy members of society out of some money so they can eat. In the comics, this starts with one of the kids faking a broken leg in order to get the man who hit him to pay for a doctor. While he and all the other residents are well dressed and seem to have money, he doesn't want to give it up for a kid on the street, or a scrap as they are called in the story. One woman is accused of being just as selfish as the man who hit the kid for not giving up the $3 herself while accusing the man of being too selfish, but she explains that she is trying to save up money to buy a home. It is this little moment that really emphasizes how greedy all of them are, how they may get worked into an outrage over how one of them seems to be greedy in particular, but that at the end of the day, they all rationalize that they need the money for themselves in order to maintain the sense of fanciness that they have. This is until Vinny and Stone get into a fight, and the townspeople begin to bet on it. They are motivated, according to Stone, not by greed alone here, though I'm sure they'd love more money, but also by entertainment. It ultimately doesn't matter to them if they lose their money on this bet, as it's fun for them to just bet it, even though they wouldn't donate the money in order to help feed the kids. It's important to note that in the comic and the pilot, the townsfolk do spend money this way, but only on things for themselves, to indulge or have fun, and gambling is fun, as Stone explains. With that in mind, it's revealed that he and Vinny tricked the audience into thinking they were fighting so that they would place bets on them, with the third scrap, Skip, placing a bet that they'd have a tie, and thus when the kids fake ending the battle with a tie, they end up walking away with all of the townsfolk's money. In this new animated pilot, we get a similar formula to the story found in the comic, however, things become a lot more biblical as the story progresses. In the animated pilot, the Scraps find a strange baby that they name Maggot because it has the body of a maggot. They decide to take care of the baby, but also enter him in a children's beauty pageant in order to make some money. When the townsfolk realize it's the homeless kids who have entered the pageant, they end up attacking the kids, only for Maggot to end up ascending into the heavens and taking on his true form as that biblically accurate giant angel, one made of rotating rings covered in eyes with 6 wings. This angel reveals that he is actually a cosmic entity that was sent down to judge the town of Ramshackle, only to be horrified that they treated him so terribly while using all of their wealth for themselves. It is here that this judging angel explains that the people seem to take pride in their greediness, where luxury isn't something that comes easily to them, but rather only by being greedy. It's much easier to be charitable when you have too much money to spend, but in the town of Ramshackle, this middle class is in the position of having just enough money to afford these fake luxuries, but only if they are greedy with how they spend it. They perhaps couldn't afford to dress up so nice and their other luxuries if they were giving even just regularly a small amount to charity. For someone who is unfathomably rich, showing luxury is just a sign of wealth, and it isn't indicative of how much you give to charity. But for the people of Ramshackle, any sign of luxury they display is a sign of greed because it comes down to making a choice between having that or helping others. For this, the people of Ramshackle are deemed unworthy by the angel, and the angel ends up smiting all of the townsfolk that had attacked the Scraps. The Scraps, meanwhile, are given the gift of just enough beans to get them through the day, something they were after at the beginning of the episode. This is an ironic gift from the angel, who could presumably gift them enough food to be satisfied for life, but he doesn't understand the scope of their problems. All the Scraps wanted at the beginning of the episode was just a humble and simple meal, to get through the day because that's all they can afford to think about. They can't think about tomorrow because that's just too far off. The angel, Maggot, focused on this and thought it would be the ultimate reward for them. But Maggot had humorously misread the situation, leading to him doing ultimately nothing to help these kids for more than one day, when he also seems to have the power to fix their lives. This makes Maggot not all that unlike the people of Ramshackle, but that joke aside, he did deliver some serious judgment on the people, which we will break down the origins of. But first, I want to talk about a quick theory on how this might set up one of the Scraps themselves to be an angelic character. Now, this pilot is the only piece of Ramshackle media that I've seen that gets supernatural or spiritual, as the comic didn't have Maggot or any other angelic type characters, and neither did the Ramshackle thesis film. Instead, the focus was just on the kids and their scams and the people of Ramshackle. In total truth, I doubt there will be a big mythological twist about the characters in the show, but if that is the direction the creator is eventually going, the pilot definitely set it up well. Before Maggot was revealed to be an angel, the townsfolk were also presented very much as demons, turning essentially into monstrous zombies when they decide to attack the children. And earlier in the episode, Vinny says something very interesting about Stone. At this time, they are just finding Maggot and trying to decide what to do with this weird worm-bodied baby. Vinny takes a moment here to say that when they found Stone, he wasn't in much a different state. This isn't to say that he had a worm body himself, but she meant that he was just a child in the dirt who needed help when they first found him. It draws an interesting comparison to Maggot, however, when he is revealed to be an angel, as it reminds us that we don't actually know the origins of the Scraps. They are orphans, and in the case of Vinny, she's claimed in the comics to have been abandoned by her mother at birth, but we don't know where these characters actually come from, or if they are even actually human. Like Maggot, one of them could have been a cosmic baby, though a different type for sure, considering that they didn't grow up to be giant angels. One of them, perhaps Stone, could have just been dropped in the town of Ramshackle, perhaps even with a similar mission, just one that they had forgotten as they grew up. With Stone being compared to Maggot, with Vinny saying that he is just like Maggot, I think it's possible he could have some sort of special lineage, though with his darker features, it could make more sense perhaps that he isn't a glowing golden angel, but a fallen darker entity who was sent to the earth more so as a punishment that he has long forgotten. With that crack theory out of the way, however, let's talk about the lore we do actually know from the show. When Maggot transforms, it's into a giant angelic being with multiple rotating rings, covered in eyes, and supported by its 6 wings. This is a description that most closely resembles that of the angels known as Ophanim in the Bible. Ophanim comes from the root word opha, meaning wheels, with the im added to the end, denoting a plurality in Hebrew, so Ophanim means wheels within wheels. These beings are given rather detailed descriptions in the book of Ezekiel, where it's explained that they are intersecting rotating wheels that help support the throne of God. The story of Ramshackle itself, meanwhile, is very similar to different stories in the Bible where cities are destroyed or threatened with destruction due to their sins. Sodom, for instance, was destroyed by God in the book of Genesis because the people were so wicked that even the children had no hope of growing up to be good under their influence, though Lot and his family were spared and allowed to escape, similar to the Scraps in Ramshackle. In other biblical stories, such as that of Jonah traveling to Nineveh, the preaching of Jonah is able to convince the people to turn against their sinful ways, and the destruction of Nineveh is actually cancelled. Ramshackle is an interesting pilot that I wish I got around to reviewing sooner, and right now you can support the production of more episodes either through Patreon or by buying merch that they have available. I'll go ahead and put a link to those in the description down below if you guys want to go check it out. If you haven't seen it yet, I hope this video convinced you to go watch Ramshackle, link also in the pinned comment down below, and don't forget to let me know your thoughts down there as well. See you guys next time.